That's enough of that. Welcome to our Christmas episode of Pause It For Me for this year to close out 2023, our last episode of the year and our second episode of season 3. Thanks for joining me, Hannah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Is it?
Yeah, of course.
Am I that much fun to talk to?
You are the most fun to talk to.
Really?
We could talk forever, baby.
Okay. Well, I don't think we'll make our episode quite that long, but
we've talked for 40 episodes.
Yeah.
And we haven't run out of steam yet.
We'll see how much you have to say about our subject for this episode, which, as you can see behind me, is Eloise at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Disney Channel original movie, ? It was made for TV at the very least.
The Wonderful World of Disney.
There
I
you
don't
go.
remember if you remember those like family night things. Michael Eisenberg, I think his name was, the president at the time, would address the audience at the beginning
I don't remember
and be
that.
like, "Welcome to the wonderful world of Disney. Tonight's feature is Eloise."
Gotcha.
That kind of thing.
Okay. But it was on like Disney Channel, Family Channel kind
Something
of thing.
like that, yeah.
Right. So you picked this as a Christmas movie to watch
It was
this
a
year.
nostalgic choice.
For nostalgic reasons.
Yes.
So a little bit of background for the audience. This is actually the sequel to Eloise at the Plaza, based on the
Kay
Thompson book from the 1950s, surprisingly. If you'd asked me, I would have thought 90s maybe.
Sure.
But no, apparently these books came out for adults in the 1950s. And then Kay Thompson realized they were being marketed to kids and was like, I'm not going to have any of that. And so she pulled them from store shelves for like 40 years. And then she died and they put them back on store shelves and then made a couple movies.
Yeah, so I put the book on hold because I need to read this, because I need to understand why she wrote like a precocious child that is like rich and lives at a hotel, but it's for adults,
well,
and
the original,
not for children.
The original title of the book, I believe, was Eloise, a book for precocious adults.
Yeah, I need to read it because I need to wrap my head around it, because to me, Eloise is such a childish character.
Right.
Which is why I watched it. I believe I watched the Eloise at Christmas time for my 7th birthday.
7. Big number. It's a monumental day for you. Being
yes,
7.
Exactly.
You know, it's the first age where you got 2 syllables.
I don't know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh,
yeah, and then you don't get that again until you're 11.
So true.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So this movie did not hold up, but it did give me the warm fuzzies. Like when I was 7, I could tolerate like this kid that's kind of like over the top and stuff. As an adult, it's a little bit cringe, but I still found it to be fun. The story was cute. She tries to get her adult friend, the waiter, back with his old sweetheart, you know?
Right. So the log line. So again, this came, I mean, let me say so a couple more times. This movie was so. It came out in 2003, a year after Eloise at the Plaza, and it was actually directed by Kevin Lima, who directed a Goofy movie.
Which is one of your faves.
Like, okay, great. And the log line goes as follows. Eloise is a precocious but lovable... Okay, I already have a problem here.
She got more lovable towards
It's a bit of a stretch. A precocious but lovable 6-year-old girl who lives in New York's Plaza Hotel. The Sweet Life of Eloise at Christmas time.
That's basically what it is.
The owner of the hotel's daughter is getting married, but Eloise decides she is marrying him for the wrong... Eloise decides. Not Eloise figures out. Eloise decides that she's marrying him for the wrong reasons and tries her hand at a spot of matchmaking. But will it work? Now, I don't know if you've seen my Letterboxd review of this.
No.
Can you read it for the audience here?
Okay.
Read it out loud for me.
Insufferable. Really? You didn't have a good time watching it with me?
I had a good time sitting next to you.
Good.
And watching shapes and colors flash on the screen. But
Baby Jesus with the shapes and colors.
Looking at his Baby Einstein books.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what we should have watched, is the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. So you said this movie did not hold up. In what way did it not hold up? In what way did it challenge the expectations that you had going in from your last childhood watch at the ripe old age of 7?
I'm not saying, I mean, Kevin Lima, I think the directing was good for what it was. I think the writing of Eloise in the adaptation to screen could have had another pass.
I didn't like the actress.
She was cute. She won me by the end. The first couple scenes, she was kind of bratty, but then when she was trying to work towards goals of helping out others and not being selfish, she was trying to help out her friend Ben, the waiter, I think.
Yeah.
And she was trying to help out the old woman that she didn't like because she was in trouble. She felt bad for her. That was when you started to connect with the character.
But I just mean like the actress that was picked. I mean, like Kevin McAllister is a little bit bratty, you know, particularly at the beginning of the first one.
He's sarcastic and funny, though.
He is funny. Yeah, like we were rewatching a scene, and she was like, his mom was like, "Go upstairs," and he's like, "I am upstairs, you dummy." I had never heard that line
but see, that's
before. I never paid attention to that
That's
line.
a real kid, though.
Yeah.
Because I think what is appealing about Kevin McAllister is he's the youngest of a bunch of older kids.
Yes.
And so you understand why he's maybe acting a little bit bratty and acting out because he wants attention. And
I can't relate to that at all.
Yeah. And it's not seen as like, okay, here's this perfect child that has the perfect life. I mean, he's also rich, like Eloise. But Eloise like thinks that she's like hot stuff.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize that she has issues.
Where I was going with this is that Kevin McAllister is endearing.
Yes.
Even at the beginning when he's being bratty, there's something about him that you're like, I want this kid to...
Because you can
he's
relate.
looked down on by his whole family, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know...
Yeah, you're what the French call les incompetents.
Yeah, but Eloise is just like, I'm the best.
Yeah,
and
everyone
you're all
thinks she's
here
great.
for it.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's kind of almost, you know, thinking along the same lines. It's almost London Tipton-esque.
Well, yeah.
You know, it's like...
She lives in like the penthouse and her mom is like a fashion designer.
Yeah. I don't want the London Tipton movie. I want the Maddie... What's Maddie's last name?
Fitzpatrick.
Why do you know that?
Because I watch the show a lot and they say it a lot.
What's Zach and Cody's last name?
I don't know.
Hey, Google, what's Zach and Cody's last name from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody?
On the website sweetlife.fandom.com, they say Cody Martin is one of the
Martin.
Martin.
But they don't say their last name as much.
What's Eloise's last name?
I don't know if you
Hey,
ever
Google.
know.
Shut up.
You're going to have to bleep that out so everyone's...
Oh, no. I'm leaving it in.
Okay.
Okay? We're a menace here. We're taking the world by storm, one Google at a time. Anyway, so... What?
We're talking about
London Tipton,
yeah, how Eloise is not relatable.
Yeah, she's more of a London, and I want the Maddie movie, you know.
But what was appealing as a child watching it was as a 7-year-old girl being like, "Hey, isn't it cool that she lives like this, you know, cool life at the hotel, has like nice clothes, you know, gets to go to Toys R Us and buy lots of presents and do lots of fun things, you know?"
If you want to watch a movie about a kid doing whatever the F they want with tons of money, watch Blank Check. Because that's on Disney Plus too. And I think a lot of people might not like that movie either, but I liked that movie. I thought it was a riot.
It was pretty good, you know?
It was pretty good indeed.
Yeah.
So... What were your thoughts watching this movie for the first time as a 7-year-old? Were you like, yeah, I want to be Eloise?
It wasn't that I want to be Eloise. It was I found it interesting to get a glimpse into a life of a little girl that...
A horrid little girl.
But when you're 7, it just seems normal because all 7-year-olds...
Well, they're big for their britches because they got 2 syllables in their age now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's normal for kids to act out and, you know, assert themselves and all that. Like, you know, find independence, even if they are annoying. But it was, you know, it was just fun, like to see like a girl that, you know, has lots of presents and has like a cool, you know, house and gets to do all these fun things and stuff.
Right. So you're living vicariously through Eloise.
Yeah. It's sort of like Yeah.
It's sort of like, yeah.
Well,
I agree.
What's the way? Like, I don't know, as an adult, maybe like the, I don't know.
What, the equivalent?
I don't know what the equivalent is, but like, seeing movies where, maybe there's glamorous women like Barbie, or that's a bad example because Barbie's a toy, but she's an adult woman, just like seeing that, being like, isn't that fun? That would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had stuff like that when you were a kid. Like,
well,
oh, there's like a little boy and like he has like a cool life.
I liked Big.
Yeah, Big is great.
Like getting to see a little boy.
He's mostly an adult.
But he gets to do grown up things. He still acts like a kid. He's like playing video games and playing with toys and whatever. We should rewatch Big.
Oh yeah, Big
We've never
is great.
seen it together.
We haven't?
No. I watched it only once as a kid.
It might have been one of those movies that you recommended, or someone at least recommended it.
Shimmy,
maybe
Shimmy,
my
Cocoa
parents
Pop.
did. Yeah.
Little like handshake or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shimmy, Shimmy, Cocoa Pop.
We got to rewatch Big. We got to rewatch Home Alone. We got to rewatch Harry Potter.
It's a yearly thing.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I saw an interesting video essay that was comparing how similar Home Alone and the first Harry Potter movie are, which were directed by the
director,
same person, Christopher Columbus.
And the precocious young boys.
There is much, I knew
sarcastic.
they were directed by the same person,
Yeah.
but there is so much more, say it with me, shared DNA
yeah.
than I thought there was between those two movies.
It's through the same creative lens.
This is what happens when we review a movie that sucks. Is that we just ended up talking about other movies.
Well, I knew this was going to
much
happen
better.
because Eloise, what's there to say about Eloise? You know what I mean? I don't know why, but this year I'm feeling really nostalgic for older choices. Like Eloise I hadn't seen in many, many years. And I was like, wouldn't it be fun to just see that again? I don't know if I need to see it again. Maybe if we have a daughter someday, I would maybe watch it with her. But
I feel like your Eloise for Christmas is my Don't Look Under the Bed for Halloween.
That was pretty good though.
That was a Disney Channel original movie that they played it every year around Halloween, and I loved it. And we rewatched it as adults, and it wasn't a masterpiece, but I thought it held up pretty well.
No, it was fun, and what was funny about it was they really leaned into the Dutch tilt for that. They're like every single shot, that's what it'll be because it's Halloween.
Now, had you seen Eloise at the Plaza already when you were a kid, or did you only watch Eloise at Christmas?
No,
time?
I saw both.
What was the first one like?
It was
sorry, I waited too long to say this. This movie has Julie Andrews for some reason.
Yeah, she was actually good in it.
She's in both.
It was funny because you watched a bunch of the movie and I was like, oh yeah, it's Julie Andrews, and you're like, that's Julie Andrews? Just because she wasn't maybe as glamorous as she.
That's not how it happened. So the movie started.
You didn't recognize her.
No, but let me explain. We have the time.
Okay, we have these.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the movie started, and the credits come up, and it's like Julie Andrews, and I'm like, okay, cool, Julie Andrews is in this. And then the character that Julie Andrews plays came up in the movie, and I didn't recognize her. And subsequently, once the movie got going for a bit, I forgot that Julie Andrews was listed in the credits. And I started, I was kind of bored during the movie, so I pulled out my phone and I started looking at the IMDb page, and I saw Julie Andrews listed, and I was like, Julie Andrews is in this movie? And you were like, yeah, she plays Nanny. And I was like, no. No, she doesn't. And then we went back to a scene that had her, and I was like, I kind of had to squint my eyes a bit, and I was like, I don't think so. And then after like a couple scenes, I was like, I guess it is Julie Andrews.
Just because she looks a little more disheveled than she normally does. What I thought was a funny take hearing from you was some of the adults called her Nanny, and they're like, is her name Nanny?
Yeah, she called herself Nanny. She was alone in a scene, and she was doing something. She was like, "Oh, come on, Nanny," and I was like, "Is your name Nanny?"
I would guess that in the book they didn't give her a name because it's irrelevant to a child, maybe.
Oh, fair enough.
But I don't know. Let's say maybe her name is like Nancy or something. Everyone calls her Nanny for short.
Okay. The next person I meet in real life whose name is Nancy, I'm going to start calling them Nanny.
Because in the Hannah Swenson books, they have there's a character that's like the town doctor, and they always call him Doc. And they're like, what's your actual name? And he's like, my name is Doc. It's Murdoch. Everyone calls me Doc for short. And they're like, oh, Okay, so you were doc before you were a doctor.
Interesting.
Doc.
That's like, in like before high school, we had a substitute teacher named Mr. Edwards, and no one ever knew what his first name was. And at some point, his name was like in the paper or something, or in some kind of local publication, and it listed him as M. Edwards. And someone was asked him like, "Oh, so it's M, okay? What does the M stand for?" And he's like, "Mister."
That's a good one. Because he didn't want to reveal.
He's full of secrets, you know?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what he looked like, but in my head, he's Reggie Fils-Aimé, the old president of like Nintendo of America.
Sure, my body is ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know Reggie.
Exactly.
So what was the first Eloise movie like?
It's basically the same thing, but
great,
not
so I can
Christmas.
skip it.
Well, that's what I remember the movie to be. Is just Eloise like chilling at a hotel. I wouldn't like, to me the Christmas one was more memorable, I guess, because
Right.
Christmas at a hotel sounds really beautiful. And as a 7-year-old, I didn't know I was going to be a wedding photographer, but as an adult, I just shot a Christmas time wedding at a hotel, and it's just funny to see things full circle, to see like weddings. I always love seeing weddings adaptations in film and stuff, so that was fun to see as an adult perspective.
Fair enough. Now, so you're saying this year you wanted to lean towards nostalgic choices.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, do you feel like the Christmas genre is exhausted? Do you feel like there's more to dig out of it? Because every year
it's mostly exhausting.
Every year we watch Christmas movies, and we mostly watch old favorites. We try to throw in a few new ones in.
Mm-hmm.
And year after year, it feels like there's less new ones to throw in that are worth our time. Do you feel like there's still room to make like good Christmas movies or like Christmas classics, or is it all like shovelware, Hallmark, whatever at this point?
I think it's mostly, as you say, shovelware, like shovel films.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But
shovelware is a term that comes from like the game industry.
Yeah.
Where it's like, on Wii, you would have like Super Smash Bros, but then you'd have shovelware, which is like carnival games, 5-in-1, or like.
Sure. But that doesn't say like those don't have their own merit. Like those can be a really fun watch. Like you really enjoyed watching A Night Before Christmas.
Yeah, that was fun.
With Vanessa Hudgens, where there's like a medieval knight.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not going to be like a holiday classic, timeless piece, but it was a fun experience. The same with like Holiday, that movie. It's crazy. And like, it can just be like a fun thing. Like that's what Christmas is all about, is just kind of lounging, relaxing, not overthinking things. But I think
guess.
I was saying this to you off mic, is I feel like the most timeless Christmas movies are ones that deal with the heart, that deal with family dynamic, like real down to earth dynamic, not like Santa Claus and stuff. Because we watched Noel and it was okay. Wasn't anything like crazy special.
Noel kind of took the worst of the Santa Claus and Elf and made the movie about that. Whereas like the Santa Claus and Elf had scenes that involved Santa being Santa at the workshop and all that, but that wasn't really, especially with Elf, that's not the best parts of the movie.
No. Like Anna Kendrick tried, Bill Hader tried. It's fine. They did what they could with it. It was nothing crazy special. But the most memorable movies are like Home Alone, Christmas Vacation, ones that are about like spending time with family. I would say the closest we've gotten in recent years is like Happiest Season, a more modern take on the family dynamic at Christmas time. The Family Stone was extremely flawed and I have lots of issues with it, but at least it was trying to do something like that. I think that's where there's always wiggle room, is because you're always going to be spending time with family at Christmas time. And there's always something to play off of that. Like Love Heart. Love Heart was anything special, but it was a Christmas movie. It dealt with, family dynamics and not feeling like the special child and everything like that. And that was interesting. So I think there's always something relatable about that. We're always going to see different versions of that. But in terms of like Santa, I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with you for sure. Well, I guess what I'm asking is what's the most recent Christmas classic that you feel like has come out? Because when we watched the Movies That Made Us episode on Elf, that was something that Jon Favreau strived for. Strived a word? Striven. He was striven towards wanting to make the next Christmas classic.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
You and I have toyed with the idea, like, oh, how funny would it be? Like, how easy would it be to make like a Hallmark-esque Christmas movie, because we're in Ottawa and there's lots of snow and kind of pretty locations.
A lot of Christmas movies are shot here.
Yeah, and at a certain point, after being like, yeah, eventually I was like, I don't really want to make a cheesy Hallmark Christmas movie. I want to make a Christmas classic.
Sure,
the same way that Jon Favreau did with Elf. And there's a script idea that I have in my head that had nothing to do with Christmas, and now I'm kind of wondering like, maybe it could take place at Christmas. It doesn't have to be about Christmas, but it can kind of circle the Christmas drain, if you will.
It could be through the lens of Christmas, because Christmas is a time of self-reflection. It's at the end of the year. It's about, it can be about, it's often about goodwill, giving instead of receiving, spreading joy, throughout the season. And I think that thing is always relatable.
Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully I get to make this movie idea. And
why not?
I mean, who knows if it'll even be the same idea by the time it, gets pushed further along. But it's in the back of my mind. So,
well, that's a great part of the creative process is you start out with one thing and then you end with something else. It's like we were watching the early versions of like Shrek and stuff, and it's like, ugh, it's a good thing it didn't look like that. It's like, or like we were looking at early versions of Woody, which is like one of your favorite movies.
Woody is my favorite movie of all time. I'll say that much. But Woody 2 wasn't as good.
Well, yeah.
Woody 3 was pretty good.
Toy Story, and he's a character in it.
Yeah.
If he looked like how he did in the beginning, he would look really creepy.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing to go through a creative process and change things. So I'm excited to see what will happen with it.
Yeah. So what do you feel like was the most recent Christmas classic? And are there any more on the horizon?
I think there's always room for it. The one that's most recent that comes to mind to me is Elf, which was
it's like
the
20
early
years
2000s.
ago at this point.
It'd be hard pressed to say something past that because it hasn't had time to become a classic. I think for a lot of people, Love Actually is a classic that they watch every year.
Interesting.
That was around the 2000s, I think.
I find that movie to be a bit of a bummer sometimes.
Well, yeah. I think
depends
a lot
which
of them,
storyline you're focusing on.
I think a lot of Christmas classics are comedic in tone, but a lot of them do have a lot of sadness. Like Home Alone deals with a lot of sad stuff, Yeah. It's just part of it, like the catharsis, having an emotional experience. I feel like our adaptations of Santa are really tired. Because they always try to reinvent the wheel, and they're like, oh, we're gonna make Santa high tech, and like, oh, everyone wants an iPad, and like stuff like that, and like they're trying to be like cynical but also like lean into it, and they're like, oh, Santa's still relevant but like not really, and like Arthur Christmas was all like high tech with the wrappers and stuff.
I thought Arthur Christmas was pretty good. Maybe not a classic, but
a classic, yeah. Like
I don't know. I like that kind of attitude was fresh in the 90s when it was like the Santa Claus. And he was like, I'm not going to be a typical Santa. I'm lactose intolerant and I'm kind of a jerk. It's like, okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But that was like 20, 30 years ago at this point. Like, let's find something new to do with Santa.
Yeah. And like, whatever, Santa, girl, whatever. Like we've seen that before. That's fine. But don't act like you're so special for introducing that idea, because it's like the 2020s. It's not.
Whoopi Goldberg did it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's not that crazy of an idea. If you want to do that, then do that. But don't be like, oh, it's so shocking. It's like,
if you want to do a classic Santa interpretation, I would love to see like a period piece of like kids some kind of Santa-centric story in like the 60s or something with a really classic old style rosy cheek Santa design.
Mm-hmm. Like sort of like
cool.
Santa Claus is coming to town kind of vibe or something.
Mm-hmm. Like the puppets brought to life, you're saying, kind of thing.
Just sort of like, you know, an elf that they leaned into the Rankin Bass kind of style. I would like to see maybe like that kind of thing, because Rankin Bass also did Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
But as a period piece is what I'm saying.
I don't need tech. I would say one movie that I really enjoyed, I don't think it's a classic, but I think it reminds me of the classics, is 8-Bit Christmas.
Yeah, I actually really liked 8-Bit Christmas. I think we talked about it last year, but it's basically a Christmas story.
But it's a little more updated.
For a new generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd rewatch that.
So that had tech, but it was more personal. It was less about like, oh yeah, kids like video games, so we'll just talk about like wanting video games as a present. It's more like, no, that was the experience of that era, was Nintendo video games had their like big original heyday in the 80s, and that was like the gift you wanted, and it just happened to be like Nintendo. You know what I mean? Instead of like trying to be like, hello fellow kids, like everyone wants an iPad. It's like, who wants an iPad? Who cares?
That was the joke that they made like every 5 to 7 minutes.
And it was not funny
in Noel.
Any of the times.
You know, it's like so-and-so wants, you know, a easy bake oven for Christmas. Also an iPad. It's like, okay.
It's like, who cares?
It was kind of funny the first time, and then they said it like 10 more times.
No, yeah. Like Bill Hader is an underrated, good, dramatic, comedic actor. Barry, great show. And they had him saying and doing the dumbest stuff in Noel. It was just like, he tried what he could with it, but it was just, they weren't really giving. And Anna Kendrick, she's funny. She's good at stuff. And what were they giving her?
Yeah,
Nothing.
I don't know. So what Christmas movies are on the horizon for you that you want to watch this year? Because I know my family's, or at least, you know, with my dad, our Christmas movie that we watch every year is Elf. And I still really love Elf. I think we took a break from it last year because we watch it every year. But I think like your family watches National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yep. Home Alone. It's a Wonderful Life we usually watch, and I cry at the end almost every single time.
You showed me It's a Wonderful Life for the first time like 3 years ago, and I'm interested to watch it again.
It holds up, I think. Especially as an adult, I can relate to it. Is like the journey of that character is, I want to go off on my own. I want to do cool stuff. I want to travel. But he feels like he's burdened with helping his family and like keeping the town afloat. And then things start to go really badly for him, and then people rally around him, and you can feel for that character. There's such a progression. See, and that takes place at Christmas time, but it's not super Christmassy. It's more like showing goodwill and about being with your family and about, you know, giving instead of receiving, and giving back, you know, paying it forward. That's always relatable. That was like I don't even know, 30s maybe. It's black and white.
40s, I'm not sure. But
if you're staying with my family, or like we're sharing Christmas with my family this year, one thing we almost always watch every year is the Waltons Christmas movie.
Never seen that.
Well, I'm sure we will watch it. We usually watch it on like Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Okay.
And it's like the precursor to the TV show. It was based on a book like by the real guy that the Waltons was based on. They did like a
Mr.
TV
Walton?
movie, something like that. They did a TV movie that took place around Christmas time, and it's like one of my mom's like nostalgic favorites, and like we watch it every year, and like there's a lot of like emotional scenes. She usually cries certain parts. It's a pretty good movie.
Okay.
It's not available on high quality though, because it was like a TV movie in like the 80s or something.
Oh.
So we have it on DVD.
Right.
So,
yeah, well.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to rewatch one of the first Futurama Christmas episodes where like
Was
Fry's
Bonder?
Bonder? Is it really you?
Yeah.
Where Fry's looking for the perfect Christmas gift for Leela, and he buys her like a parrot or something.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? Okay,
No,
we gotta watch
I
that.
remember
right
the
after this
creepy
podcast.
Santa.
Oh yeah,
Is he in that?
Yeah.
Is it John Goodman?
I think it was John Goodman to start, and then later he was replaced by John DiMaggio.
Right. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah. Well, I am actually really nostalgic towards Christmas. I think I've gone more cynical in recent years and been less about that. But when I was a kid, I was like crazy about Christmas. I would wear like a Santa hat like every day in December.
Me too. Yeah.
I had like jingle bell necklaces. I had a gingerbread that I brought like a toy chair for, and I would put like this gingerbread man thing, like Gingy, on like this little chair that would be on my desk.
Cool girl
I
alert.
was a big nerd. There's
I mean,
no denying that.
I like it.
But I was crazy about Christmas, and it's just fun. Like that's why I'm excited about nostalgia this year, and I'm on the hunt to find a new Christmas classic.
Exactly. I think that's the theme of this conversation here is like, what else is out there?
I explored the idea of doing international movies. What is the classic for other cultures?
Yeah.
I stumbled upon a French movie from, I think, the 70s that I'm interested in. And I'm interested to explore more options that are maybe less mainstream. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, for certain. For certain. Well, you will see us again in 2024. Thanks so much for listening. Any closing thoughts about K-Rismas before we sign off here?
Well, it's just been a great year of watching movies and talking about movies with you. And I'm excited for next year and all the great movies we're going to watch. We're going to Italy next year. I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of Italian movies.
Watch
in
Bicycle Thieves again.
Anticipation. I will probably ask you to watch the Lizzie McGuire movie because it takes place in Rome. Come on, we have to. We're going to Rome.
Whatever you say.
Roman Holiday.
I love you.
Roman Holiday. That's a Christmas Italian movie.
Is it Christmas? I don't think it's actually Christmas. I
Oh,
think
no.
I just watched it
We
on
watched
Christmas
it
Day.
at Christmas.
I
and
watched it on Christmas Day
feels
with my mom one
Christmassy.
year.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to rewatch it on Christmas Day
Yeah.
with you. Same with Heidi. That became like a Christmas Eve semi-tradition to watch Heidi on Christmas Eve.
Mhm.
That I think might have a Christmas scene, but
Like one. I think she maybe like gets a pair of shoes or something.
yeah.
The grandfather.
It's on my mind at the top of next year to do sort of like a Pause It For Me awards of 2023 to be like,
Okay.
of all the movies that we watched in 2023, you know, what was the most this, what was the least that.
Sure.
So
That's
start
fun.
the gears
Like
churning
Marcus
of
Brownlee.
that. Exactly, yeah, like the smartphone awards, but the Pause It For Me awards.
That's fun. Yeah. I mean, it's been a great opportunity to see movies maybe we haven't like seen before. We did a lot of historic movies, and there's some movies I'm really glad that I saw, like His Girl Friday, and other movies I wish I could take back the experience of watching them.
Yeah. We'll get back to that list eventually, but right now we're taking a nice healthy break and watching
Yes.
stuff that excites us. Like Eloise.
Like Eloise and Amelie, and I would love to see more foreign movies and get excited about that and stuff. So I'm really excited about that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for listening, and you'll see us next time. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.